Hey there, job seekers. All right, picture this. You've nailed the interview. You've answered all the tough questions. You're feeling confident. And then it happens. The dreaded salary talk. Ugh, right? It's that moment where you wish you could just say, let's pretend we didn't hear that, and move on to the next question. But salary is part of the interview process, and let's be real, it can feel a little uncomfortable. But don't panic, I've got you covered. Today we're diving into the 7 right approach for discussing salary in an interview without feeling awkward, underpaid, or like you're selling yourself short. Step 1. Do your research first. Okay, let's kick things off with the biggest and most important step, doing your research. Before you even think about walking into that interview, it's critical that you understand what the typical salary range is for the role you're applying for. Now, how do you find that info? Well, thankfully, we're living in the digital age, and there are a ton of online resources to help you out. Websites like Glassdoor, Payscale, LinkedIn, and Indeed are great places to start. All you have to do is type in the job title, and voila, you'll get a pretty good idea of what people in that role are earning. For example, let's say you're interviewing for a marketing position in your city. You check Glassdoor and find that salaries range from $50,000 to $70,000, depending on experience. Great, now you know that $50,000 is the minimum and $70,000 is the top end. This gives you a solid baseline to work with. Here's a little bonus tip. Don't just look at one source. Get a few opinions. Salary can vary depending on the company, the location, and the industry, so make sure you're comparing similar job titles in similar locations. Also, don't forget to factor in cost of living. If you're applying for a job in New York City, you're probably not going to accept the same salary you would in a small town in Ohio. Make sure the salary you're aiming for aligns with your needs and expectations, and, spoiler alert, what you deserve. Step 2. Wait for the right moment. Now that you've done your research, it's time to talk strategy. And the first step in the salary conversation is timing. There's a right moment to bring up salary, and it's not right at the start of the interview. Imagine this. You're sitting down for an interview, and the interviewer asks, "Tell us about your experience," and you immediately interrupt, saying, "By the way, what's the salary for this position?" Yikes, that's a hard pass. Here's the deal. Wait for the interviewer to bring it up first. Typically, the best time to discuss salary is after the employer has expressed serious interest in you. If they've told you they're impressed with your experience and they're considering you for the position, that's when you can start discussing compensation. If they're still in the early stages, like the first interview or the initial phone screen, it's okay to deflect the salary question. But once they've made it clear they want to move forward with you, it's time to have that conversation. Step 3. Deflect or delay the question if you can. Okay, so you're sitting there, and the interviewer asks, "What are your salary expectations?" This is one of those moments where you want to be prepared, but you don't need to answer right away. At this point, you can politely deflect the question or delay it. Say something like, "I'm really interested in understanding the full scope of the role and how I can add value before we discuss salary." This way, you're not avoiding the question. You're just keeping the focus on your fit for the role first. Another good deflection line is, "I'm flexible, but I'd love to hear more about the responsibilities and growth opportunities first, so I can be sure my expectations align with the role." Remember, don't get caught up in a salary negotiation too early. You want to make sure you're making the right decision for both parties before diving into the money talk. Step 4. Be prepared to state your range. Eventually, you're going to have to give a number, and this is where preparation truly pays off. Do not give a single number without a range. Giving a salary range shows flexibility and puts you in a much better position to negotiate. So let's say the role you're applying for has a typical salary range of $50,000 to $70,000. You could say something like, "Based on my research and my experience, I'm looking for something in the range of $55,000 to $60,000. depending on the overall benefits and responsibilities associated with the role." Here's why this is important. A range gives the employer room to work with. If you give them one number, they might feel like they're either lowballing you or overpaying you. A range opens up the possibility for negotiation. And, as I mentioned earlier, always aim for the middle or higher end of your range. Don't start at the bottom unless you're really desperate or you're super early in your career. Step 5. Don't forget benefits and perks. Okay, salary is important, but don't forget the perks and benefits. Sometimes a slightly lower salary can be offset by awesome benefits like health insurance, paid time off, retirement contributions, or even flexible work hours. These perks add huge value to the overall compensation package. When they present an offer, don't just focus on the salary. Ask about other benefits like health insurance, stock options, or professional development opportunities. Sometimes, a company's total compensation package, salary plus benefits, is worth much more than just the base pay. So if they can't meet your salary expectation, ask if there's flexibility in these other areas. For example, I understand if the salary isn't flexible, but is there room for more vacation days or a performance bonus? Step 6. Be ready to negotiate. Here's where things get interesting. Negotiation. Let's say you've done everything right, and they've made an offer that's a little lower than you hoped for. It's time to negotiate. Don't just accept the first offer that comes your way. You can always say, "Thank you for the offer. I'm excited about the opportunity. Based on my research and the value I believe I can bring to the team, I was hoping for a salary closer to $55,000. Is there any flexibility in that?" And remember, the goal here is to be respectful. No one likes a pushy negotiator, so keep it professional, but make sure you ask for what you're worth. Step 7. Know when to walk away. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, the salary offer just doesn't cut it. And that's okay. It's important to know when to walk away if the offer isn't right for you. If they're not willing to meet your minimum requirements, or if the offer just doesn't align with your career goals or needs, don't be afraid to politely decline. Just say something like, "I really appreciate the offer and the time you've taken to consider me for this role. However, after careful consideration, I don't feel this offer aligns with my expectations." It's always better to walk away than to settle for something that doesn't meet your needs. So there you have it, your 7-step guide to handling salary discussions in an interview. With these tips, you can approach the conversation with confidence, knowing your worth, and making sure you get a fair deal. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more career tips, interview hacks, and job search advice. Got any salary negotiation stories or tips of your own? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Good luck, and go get that paycheck.